Hello everybody, I am Dr. Dvipika Garg. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we would be discussing the third part of our MCQs discussion. So if you are following me, if you are going through the videos, you must have attempted the first two parts of MCQs. There were 10 MCQs in each, approximately 10 year. So I'm hoping you are solving those MCQs along with me, scoring yourself, so that you know where you stand, you know the areas where you have to work upon, and based on your previous knowledge we would be attempting few more MCQs today. Okay, so before we start with the MCQs, let me just brief you again about the pattern of examination. As mentioned earlier, there are more of image based and patient based questions coming up this year. Okay, this is purely based on the pattern which we are observing in the last 2 or 3 years, and negative marking is also there. So for each incorrect response, 1 mark would be deducted, and for each correct response you get 4 marks. And if in case you leave a question unattempted, it's fine, no marks are deducted. Okay, so these are just few general instructions which you will be seeing and on that particular day of exam as well, but you should be very well versed with it. We would be covering more videos on purely on NEET MDS examinations, wherein I would be telling you about the exam pattern, the strategies, how to clear it, from where to apply, how to fill up the forms, and general instructions for each and everything. But before we do that, what we have to do today is attempt a few set of MCQs, right? So the first question which we have is most easily retained correction, which is the most easily retained correction, meaning there was a malocclusion, the patient got it corrected orthodontically, and it is most easily retained. See, at the end of each case we have to give retainers. There is absolutely no choice in it. There are different kinds of retainers, removable, fixed retainers. Okay, so that is one thing which has to be given, because in orthodontics doing correction is one thing and retaining that correction is the major task. Okay, so which malocclusion is most easily retained? Is it crowding, spacing, rotation, or anterior crossbite? Okay, so if there is crowding, maybe we are extracting, expanding, or doing proximal stripping and the crowding is corrected. Spacing, rotation, or is it anterior crossbite? So the correct option here is anterior crossbite. Option D is correct, that is anterior crossbite, because if we have an anterior crossbite and once we jump the bite, correcting an anterior crossbite is known as jumping of bite. So once we jump the bite and it comes here, it is naturally retained. If my upper anteriors were in and crossbite with lower anteriors, we jump the bite and my upper anteriors are now touching the labial surface of lower anteriors the way it should be. It will act as a natural retention procedure, because my lower anteriors will not allow the upper anteriors to jump back inside again. Okay, so the most easily retained correction is anterior crossbite. Next question, cortical drift is a growth process involving. I am sure this growth topic is not very clear to you people, because that is generally the trend which I have seen in BDS people. It is BDS students, it is not very clear. The procedure of growth and development is not really a very difficult topic. The thing is, it has to be just explained well, that's it. So cortical drift is a growth process involving deposition of bone, resorption of bone, deposition and resorption, or is it bone bending? So cortical drift occurs when there is simultaneous bone deposition and resorption. It cannot occur solely if there is bone deposition, because the bone will grow thick in that area, and if there is only bone resorption, it would become thinner. So it has to be simultaneous deposition, resorption. As a result, it changes its position. Okay, it is how it changes its shape, position, or whatever. So cortical drift is a growth process involving deposition and resorption. So answer C is correct. Moving on, the next question is soldering and welding is not possible in. What is soldering? What is welding? Soldering is the process of joining two metals with the help of third metal. Welding is the procedure of joining two metals without help of any third metal. Just the two parent metals are joined together. Soldering and welding is not possible in nitinol wire, TMA wire, SS wire, or is it alloy wire? TMA wire. Okay, maybe you have seen it, maybe I'm not. SS is your stainless steel wire. I'm sure people must have seen it. But the correct answer here is nitinol wire. Nitinol wires are preformed wires. Nitinol wire is something which does not allow us to solder and weld. So soldering and welding is not possible in nitinol wire. The two basic properties of nitinol wire are super elasticity, okay, and shape memory. It will retain the shape in which it is because it has a shape memory. So soldering and welding is not possible in nitinol wire. We can solder and do welding in TMA wire, SS wire and alloy wire. Moving on, if a child's teeth do not form, this would primarily affect the growth of. If a child's teeth is only not forming, will it affect the growth of maxilla? Or will it affect the growth of alveolar bone, whole of the face or the mandible? Okay, if the, see, a tooth erupts from the bone, okay, and that is your which bone? Alveolar bone. If my tooth is not erupting, my alveolar bone will not grow. So the growth of alveolar bone would be restricted. And if my alveolar bone is not there, my teeth is not erupting, that would ultimately hamper my vertical height. Okay, if you have seen my previous video, you will be very well versed with anteroposterior, transverse and vertical. So vertical is related to eruption of teeth. So if a child's teeth do not form, this would affect the growth of alveolar bone. Maxilla and mandible and whole face will get affected, yes, but it would not affect their growth. The growth of maxilla mandible will not be hampered if the teeth is not erupting. It is the alveolar bone through which the tooth erupts would be hampered. Okay, next question. Natal teeth are defined as. Now these are few questions, which you do not only in orthodontics but even in periodontics. So periodontics and orthodontics, there are few things which go hand in hand. So if you are clear with these concepts, with the common topics which are there, it becomes very easy. If suppose you have done the orthodontics thoroughly, so few topics of periodontics will obviously be covered. Okay. So the question, natal teeth are defined as teeth present at the time of birth, teeth erupting in second or third month, teeth erupting between 6 months to 2 years, or teeth erupting after 1 year of age. So there are two terminologies, natal teeth and neonatal teeth. Natal teeth are the teeth which are present at the time of birth. Okay, when a child is born, an intraoral examination reveals presence of teeth. So those teeth are known as natal teeth. Now, if a child is born with natal teeth, it becomes very difficult for the mother to breastfeed, right? Because the teeth are present. So the teeth, whereas the teeth which erupt during the first 2 months or 1 month of birth are known as neonatal teeth. Okay, teeth erupting between 6 months to 2 years are all your primary teeth. All the teeth erupt during those time. Teeth erupting after 1 year of age is also a primary teeth. There is no specific terminology for that. So do not get confused with two things, natal and neonatal. Natal at the time of birth, neonatal within 2 months or 1 month of birth. Okay. Next question. Methods of intraoral anchorage reinforcement. Again, anchorage is an extremely important topic. This is one thing which you have to be really clear, because there is classification of anchorage. It can be intraoral or extraoral. That is the major wide classification. Intraoral meaning it is taking support from inside. Extraoral are all your orthopedic appliances like face mask, headgear. They become your extraoral anchorage reinforcement methods. So intraoral can again be further divided into intermaxillary, intramaxillary, whether it is confined towards maxilla, into maxilla, or are they taking support from mandible, okay, whether it is buccal, palatal, upper, lower, there's a lot of classifications. So anchorage is one thing which you should be really clear. And one thing which if you have seen the previous video, you must be knowing the concept of absolute anchorage. That is, temporary anchorage devices have come where we have mini screws and mini plates. They prove to be the source of absolute anchorage. So coming back to the question, methods of intraoral anchorage reinforcement. Is it headgear, face mask, chin cup, or Nance appliance? So you all must have ruled out the first three options. It is Nance appliance, and the figure shown here is a Nance appliance. See, Nance appliance is given very frequently, okay, because it is a good source of intraoral anchorage. Also, it prevents mesial movement of, it not only prevents mesial movement of my molars, it also helps in maintaining vertical and transverse dimensions. Okay, so when we are talking about anchorage, it cannot be very much restricted. Anchorage is always in all three planes of space. Okay. Next question. Activator was introduced by, again, I maybe people are not very clear, students are not very clear with myofunctional appliances, but activator, bionator, Frankel appliance, twin block, okay, all these things are really easy things. We will be covering myofunctional in depth in later videos in upcoming lectures. So to start up with the basic, activator was introduced by Anderson. Okay, Anderson was the person who first introduced activator. He gave this appliance in his daughter when she was going on a vacation, and after coming from the vacation he observes that there is drastic change in her facial profile because she had been using a activator. Okay, so then based on that he started developing more components to it. He did certain modifications. It was given to the public and it gave excellent results. So activator is a one-piece appliance which is generally used to correct a class 2 malocclusion. Okay, then we have bionator, which is given by William Balters. We have Frankel appliance, which is given by Frankel. Then we have twin block, which is given by William Clark. So all these are myofunctional appliances. Even the classification of myofunctional appliances is very important. It is tooth borne, tissue borne, combinations, fixed, removable, all these things. Right, so myofunctional would be covered in depth, but to start, activator was given by Anderson. Next question. Best method of arch length preservation. Okay, the arch length has to be preserved. What can you do? Placing a lingual arch. Yes, it is a method of arch length preservation. Why? Because it prevents anchorage loss. Restoring carious tooth. Yes, if the carious tooth is restored, my mesiodistal, if there are class 2 caries and if I restore it, so the mesiodistal width of the tooth can be maintained. Imagine a situation if there are distal caries, class 2 DO cases there in say second premolar, okay, and we do not restore it. What happens? My first molar can move mesially. There can be anchorage loss. Why? Because there is loss of tooth structure in the distal aspect of second premolar. So when there is loss of tooth structure in the distal aspect of the second premolar, there is adequate amount of space for my mandibular molar, if we are considering mandible, for the mandibular first molar to move mesially. If that happens, there is anchorage loss and my arch length is lost. My arch length is reduced. We do not want that. It can lead to crowding in future. So restoring carious tooth is definitely an option. Next is placing band and loop space maintainer. The figure shown here is a band and loop space maintainer. Next question is placing acrylic removable space maintainer. Okay. Now, if we have already like lost the tooth, suppose, and if we want to preserve the arch length, one method is definitely placing band and loop. Then we have crown and loop, or we have distal shoe, or placing acrylic removable space maintainer. Now these are, something which are long procedures which have to be done in the patient. So what is the question? Now same thing which has happened now. All 4 options are correct. All are methods of arch length preservation. So how do you rule out? What do? You go back to the question and reread it. What is the question? The best method. See, if we do not read the word best, method of arch length preservation, all 4 of them. So now you're confused. How do you rule out each and every option? What do you do when all 4 options look correct? You go back to the question. What do you see? Best method. So the best method is restoring a carious tooth, because if you restore a carious tooth, it is not a very long procedure where you are doing a lot of things. You're just doing a restoration. Whereas placing a lingual arch, band, loop, or giving a space maintainer which is removable or fixed is a tedious task, not only for the doctor, for the patient as well. So you don't want to do such procedures, right, if you have a simple procedure of restoring a carious tooth. So yes, that is the best method. What is overbite? Now overjet, overbite are terminologies which are very much known to you from the very first year of your graduation. Okay, in prostho you must have done teeth setting. So overjet, overbite is something which you are very well versed with. So what is overbite? It is the vertical overlapping of upper and lower anterior teeth. Normal overbite is 2 millimeters, right? And if my overbite increases, it leads to deep bite. When deep bite further increases and it becomes aggravated, what happens is it goes into a closed bite case, as we have discussed in MCQ part 2. So that is why, students, I'm telling you, please go in a systematic manner. Do not jump any video, okay? Just go in the manner it has been uploaded, because it is done in a sequential manner. So you have to go in that particular manner, so that you know what is going on, and you can relate the questions from part 2 into part 3. So that is your overbite, where there is vertical overlapping of upper and lower anteriors. In case my upper and lower anteriors, they do not overlap, what does it lead to? It leads to open bite, which is shown in the figure. Again, correlating this thing with the previous video, you are well versed with the content of open bite and tongue thrust. You know the controversy in orthodontics, okay? So yes, this is overbite. Next question. Retention in removable appliance is obtained by. Okay, again same thing, doing orthodontic treatment is one thing, retention is the main thing. This was said by Oppenheim, where he said retention is actually the main problem in orthodontics. So how do you retain removable appliance? If you're given an removable appliance, what do? Is the retention provided by Z spring? No, Z spring is used for labial movement of the tooth. This has also been covered in my earlier videos. Again, go in a sequential manner. Next, Adams clasp. Yes, it is a method of retention. Expansion screw. Expansion screw is used to expand my maxilla. Again, the concept of slow and rapid maxillary expansion, as covered in the previous videos. Next is labial bow. Labial bow is a component which is given on the labial aspect of the teeth. It is used to correct minor degrees of proclination. So, but basically retention is provided by Adams clasp. Adams clasp is also something which you should be well versed. Who gave the Adams clasp? What are the components of Adams clasp? How do you fabricate it? Which wire is used? And all these things, right? Next question. What do you have to do for the next question? Stay tuned for something, because there are lots more coming up. See, students, will be covering lot of videos. Okay, all the topics in orthodontics would be covered. And basically what I am getting to know from the feedback is cephalometry is one thing which is not very clear to the students. They want a revision for cephalometry, myofunctional appliances, orthopedic appliances, growth and development, and about arch wires. Okay, like all the properties which are there in orthodontics. So these are few topics which have got a feedback are a little difficult for the students. So it is very much necessary we follow these these topics have to be followed up first, because they are very often asked in your NEET MDS examinations. From ortho, these questions and these topics are very, very important. So everything would be covered for you. And if you want to crack your NEET MDS exam, what do you have to do? Stay tuned. So subscribe to my channel so that you get a notification whenever I'm uploading a video. If you like the video, do like it so that I know students are understanding. Share it among your friends so that you all can sit together and study, right? So all the very best for your preparations. Keep working hard. Make a timetable for yourself. We'll be doing it together also in some time. But yes, prepare a timetable. Go through the videos. Learn, understand. You have so many options to read from. You have so many books. You have lots of options. So just take up something which suits you and start with your preparations. All the very best, and thank you.